Vietnam, positioned as a frontier market within Southeast Asia, frequently emerges as a key beneficiary in the ongoing trade tensions between the United States and China. Over the past years, the United States and China have imposed higher tariffs on each other's goods, resulting in a notable decline in their bilateral trade, given their status as the world's top two economies. Furthermore, recent escalations in geopolitical tensions between these global powers have prompted manufacturers and businesses to seek diversification away from China. Consequently, both nations have had to explore alternative markets to procure goods, while manufacturers based in China seek alternative production locations to avoid the impact of these tariffs. Vietnam has emerged as a favored destination for such shifts in trade patterns and production supply chains. However, some analysts have identified certain bottlenecks within Vietnam's infrastructure and capacity, which could potentially limit its ability to absorb these additional trade flows. In today's video, we will delve deeper into the question of whether Vietnam can serve as a replacement for China as the next global manufacturing hub. If you have an interest in compelling topics like this one, you've come to the right channel. Before you continue watching, please consider subscribing to our channel to show your support. Now, let's begin our discussion about China and Vietnam. Is Vietnam the next China? The short answer is no. Vietnam can never replace China, at least not in the next 10 years. The fact remains that China's formidable manufacturing prowess, underpinned by a sophisticated supply chain and a network of suppliers shaped by the government's enduring national policies, solidifies its status as a manufacturing behemoth. As it stands, no single country, including Vietnam, can comprehensively replace China's manufacturing capacity. China initiated its reform and opening up policies in 1978, with Vietnam subsequently following a similar trajectory by embarking on its own market reforms, famously known as Doi Moi, in 1986. Over the past few decades, both countries have achieved remarkable economic growth. However, the eruption of a trade war between the United States and China in 2018 hastened a fourth wave of industrial chain relocation, with nations like Vietnam and Mexico emerging as primary beneficiaries of these trade disputes. Vietnam's trade with the United States has experienced substantial growth since 2018. The most recent data reveals that Vietnam's trade surplus with the United States reached $81 billion in 2021, up from $63 billion in 2020, marking an all-time high. Furthermore, Vietnam's economy expanded by 5.03% in the first quarter of 2022, compared to the same period the previous year, surpassing China's growth rate of 4.8%. Additionally, Vietnam's foreign trade surged to $176.35 billion in the first quarter, a year-on-year increase of 14.4%. In contrast, China's first quarter foreign trade grew by 10.7% in yuan terms. If these statistics do not convey the message clearly enough, the substantial investments made by Hong Kong business tycoon Li Ka-shing in Vietnam's infrastructure after withdrawing from the United Kingdom have undoubtedly sent shockwaves throughout the Chinese market observers. Nevertheless, despite these notable achievements, Vietnam still falls short of replacing China, and here are the reasons why. Number 1, China has a huge population and labor force. Vietnam boasts numerous appealing attributes: cost-effective input expenses, a stable political climate, and a progressively liberalized trade and investment environment, notably following its free trade agreement with the European Union. However, there is one key factor constrains Vietnam's capacity to absorb a significantly larger share of manufacturing relocated from China and ascend the value chain. And that is its considerably smaller population size. A glance at this chart underscores why Vietnam cannot be considered the successor to China. Vietnam's labor force is nearly 7% of the size of China's, which means it can only accommodate a limited portion of the companies seeking alternatives to China's escalating production costs. To put things in perspective, Vietnam's population is actually smaller than China's Guangdong province. While Vietnam has made significant progress in sectors such as textiles, footwear, and electronics, its limited size compared to China prevents it from replacing production that relies heavily on a large workforce, especially in the electronics sector. Consequently, companies looking to diversify away from China will only find a partial solution in Vietnam, one that can likely address just a fraction of their needs. This leaves a significant portion of the market open to other economies in Asia and beyond, provided they are willing to compete for it. Additionally, Vietnam's relatively youthful population is on a trajectory toward aging. According to population projections from the United Nations, Vietnam's demographic profile will become increasingly top-heavy by the year 2050. Number 2. China has better supply chains and stronger production capacity. China's resilience has solidified its position as an unwavering force in global manufacturing, at least in the short term. While it's true that Vietnam has assumed the final assembly responsibilities for certain electronic products, China's overall manufacturing prowess has demonstrated remarkable consistency. A concrete illustration of this can be found in the case of Apple, a tech giant with a significant global footprint. In the period spanning 2019 to 2021, Apple did indeed reduce the proportion of its manufacturing locations in the Chinese mainland, decreasing it from 48% to 42%. A substantial portion of this shift involved relocating labor-intensive tasks to Vietnam. However, it's crucial to note that Apple simultaneously augmented its network by incorporating 14 new Chinese suppliers into its ecosystem. Many of these new suppliers specialize in producing high-value, knowledge-intensive components, including optical components, sensors, and connectors. This strategic move by Apple highlights China's enduring appeal as a manufacturing hub, with the ability to not only adapt to changes but also attract investments from prominent companies in advanced and specialized sectors of manufacturing. While Vietnam has made inroads in specific areas, China's comprehensive manufacturing landscape and well-established supply chains continue to set it apart, cementing its global manufacturing dominance in the short term. Although Vietnam has experienced remarkable growth in its export sector, a significant portion of this growth is benefiting foreign companies rather than domestic ones. Notably, the gross exports figure encompasses a substantial quantity of intermediate goods originating from China and South Korea. Over the years, Vietnam's economic integration with China has deepened, resulting in an increased reliance on Chinese inputs for its production processes. As a matter of fact, China stands as Vietnam's primary source of intermediate goods, contributing to nearly one-third of all intermediate product imports in the manufacturing sector. Number 3. China has a huge middle class and domestic market. Another compelling advantage that China boasts is the sheer size and potential of its burgeoning middle class, coupled with its vast domestic market. This demographic phenomenon is underscored by a comprehensive study conducted by McKinsey, which projects that by the year 2025, the Chinese middle class will encompass a staggering 520 million individuals. This figure is equivalent to more than half of the anticipated urban population of China during that time frame. What's even more astonishing is that this colossal middle class will wield a combined total disposable income amounting to a whopping 13.3 trillion renminbi. To put this in perspective, the upper middle class segment alone in China will surpass the population of the entire United States, standing at a remarkable 1.5 times the size of the US population. This statistic is nothing short of astounding and highlights the immense economic potential embedded within China's domestic market. Consequently, it's only natural for companies with an eye on this immense consumer base to consider relocating their manufacturing operations closer to their customers within China. The proximity to such an expansive and rapidly growing middle-class market presents a compelling incentive for businesses looking to capitalize on China's domestic consumption boom. The China Plus One strategy. Vietnam, recognized as one of the world's rapidly developing nations, is poised to enhance its infrastructure and elevate the quality of its workforce. However, despite its growth trajectory, Vietnam, with a population of around 95 million people, stands as the 15th largest country globally and simply cannot aspire to fill the colossal shoes of China within the global supply chain. In recent years, many companies have embraced a China Plus One strategy, which involves establishing new manufacturing facilities outside of China. This strategic approach seeks to diversify business operations beyond China's borders, directing investments toward manufacturing in other promising developing economies such as India, Thailand, or Vietnam. For the past 2 decades, Western companies primarily concentrated their investments in China, enticed by its cost-effectiveness and vast domestic consumer markets. This shift away from China can be attributed to various factors, including cost considerations, safety concerns, and a desire for long-term stability. However, it's essential to note that the China Plus One strategy implies diversification from China rather than an immediate and complete withdrawal from the Chinese market. Consequently, replacing China's extensive supply chain cannot happen overnight. In sum, the Vietnamese economy, while dynamic and growing, is considerably smaller in scale compared to China, the world's second-largest economy. This means Vietnam can't match China's vast manufacturing capabilities due to its size. So, do you agree that Vietnam can never replace China, or replace China's position as the world's factory? Tell us what you think by leaving your comments below. If you like what you watch, hit the like button to show your support. More importantly, subscribe to this channel so that you will continue to receive interesting videos about the happenings in Asia.